Hello, everybody. Joe Ringen here. I am an author, and I've written a book, an epic fantasy book called The Ballad of Ages. And I'm also an avid reader. I love reading, and I love talking about books, and hopefully inspiring others to pick up some books. To number one, just keep reading. Number two, maybe find some books you never would have heard about otherwise. So I'm throwing together some videos, putting them on the internet for everybody. Hope you like them. Today, though, I'm not doing a book review. I'm doing a ranking. I watch a lot of YouTubers. Like last night, I watched Brian Lee Durfee. He's awesome. Check out his channel if you haven't. He does some great lists and rankings. So I'm just gonna throw my hat in the ring and see if maybe I can make one that's good too. And it's just fun. So my ranking is going to be top 10. It's top 10, not a lot of criteria, just top 10 books that I've ever read. So here we go. Number 10. Oh, and I should say, I read all sorts of books. I mean, mostly my reviews are sci fi and fantasy. So I'm just saying right now, all the books on this list are not all sci fi and fantasy. This is all time best books that I've ever read, regardless of genre. And I'll touch on in a little bit why they're the best to me. They're probably not going to be the best to everyone, but for whatever reason, these books have resonated with me, have taught me something, have uh, just stuck and inspired and affected my life in some way. So, number 10, we have The Bonfire Vanities by Tom Wolfe. I don't remember how I found out about this book. I know it was somewhere on YouTube. I don't remember who said it. It might have been Bradley Durfee. I don't know. I don't remember. But I'm super glad I read this book. It's not really in my wheelhouse of type of books. It's a fiction set, but like the time period and stuff is totally my wheelhouse. It's a fiction book set in our world in the 1980s in New York. Like there is a movie of this. It's entertaining, but it's pretty far off from the book. But there totally could be like a Netflix series of this book. If they stuck true to it, it would be incredible. Everyone would love it. It'd be the next viral show. So, yeah, what is this book? So you got this kind of playboy Wall Street guy, stock trader who living in New York. So he's filthy rich, and it's actually a pretty funny book. Like it has serious themes and serious parts of it, but it's also very funny. So, but anyway, so he gets into trouble. He's messing around with the lady who's not his wife, and and then also the the center of the story is he gets in a car accident or he hits a poor guy. They were like I forget where they were going, but with his mistress, right? So he's driving with his mistress, and then he hits a poor guy, like um, minority kid in some bad part of New York, and then he flees the scene. Um, so there's some courtroom stuff, there's some legal stuff, it's just really entertaining to see all the different and it's the best part about this book is it's told like you could see this happening in real life. Like, you know, the way that the world works is pretty sketchy. You got, the rich people and they just kind of are above the law, and then you have the the minister guy who's sort of like the ringleader of the minority group in this area, but he's sort of in it for money too. It's all very sketchy. Everyone's in bed with each other, but it's a very entertaining book. So and it's a accurate through satire portrayal of America in the 1980s. So if you're interested in that, read this book. It's incredible. That was number 10. Number 9, um, This one's kind of a different one. It's not really a book per se, but man, this book, I can honestly say it really had a huge impact in my life. It's the Essential Dialogues of Plato. So it's a collection of dialogues of well, Plato, but yeah, so it's or Socrates, but Plato's like his protege or one of his students. So it's all Plato's writing of what Socrates wrote or said, because Socrates didn't write stuff down. So incredible. Like it's not a story. These aren't like not it's not like fiction. It's not like it. I mean, they're essays, like textbook, but so much better. Like man, if we just read stuff like this in school, school would be awesome. We read junk in school, and like no one likes reading it. This is so I learned so much more in this than any textbook I read, K through 12. Um, it's a lot. It's just like it's not even written out like narrative. It's just people talking. That's why it's called dialogues. It's kind of like a play, but it's just like people talking to each other the whole time. Why is that awesome? Hard to explain. You just have to read it. One, because there's so much wisdom baked into it, so you just learn from reading it. You can't not learn something, and you learn a lot of really good stuff. And two, it's cool because it's a snapshot of history. Like these things happen. This happened in the world. It's not fiction. This is things that Socrates said and taught. And two, for me, and this might not resonate with everyone, but I enjoy writing. I wrote a book. I keep writing books. Hopefully, I get better and better. But this book, just reading this, made me a better writer with dialogue, particularly. And because of this, I love writing dialogue in my books. Probably too much dialogue, not enough. What do you call it? Exposition. But I do write a lot of dialogue, and that's directly because of this. This book, man, everyone should read it. And you don't have to necessarily like believe what Socrates teaches or subscribe to it. If it contradicts your beliefs, it's so important to read anyway. It's just wisdom. And it will make you more intelligent. If you want to become more intelligent, read this. It's incredible. So, Dialogues of Plato, really sayings of Socrates. This is number 9. All right, number 8. Tale of Two Cities, Charles Dickens. People are probably laughing. This is cliche. This is a pretty popular book, and rightfully so. It's incredible. This is one that I feel like me for a long time, and probably most people just know about it, but have not read it. Dang, you should read it. Like, this is also a timepiece or a snapshot in history, historical fiction. So one of the things I loved about this book is I learned a lot about history, about a very just explosive time in history, the French Revolution. There are so many books that are set in this time period because it's just like so much going on. It's just a powder keg of, what do you call it? Just like a powder keg of drama. So it's just waiting for stories to be written about it and in that time period. And this is one of them. This is one of the best ones. And there's a ton, like I said, I haven't read too many. So take that with a grain of salt. There might be more out there that are better. But these are books I've read, and this one is so good. So you learn a lot about history because of it, and the characters are great. Charles Dickens is such a good writer. I mean, we all know The Christmas Carol, some of the other stuff, Bleak House. This one feels a little different. It's almost like it is like kind of like an action story. There's a lot going on. It's not just like classic Charles Dickens, hey, I'm some poor beggar and this is life in London as a poor person. That's not it, because this is about the French Revolution. So yeah, it's a lot of cool battles. I mean, holy cow, the opening, like, well, there's the super famous lines, the beginning and the ending part of the book. Like, a lot of people have them memorized. So, it was the best of times, it was the worst of times. That's this. All right, so there's a lot of good quotes. but there's so much like, oh, the part with the beheading and of the queen and stuff, like that's just kind of like in the oh man, it was good. And there's like scenes at the end where you're like on the edge of your seat. And yeah, this is one of those books too where you become smarter by reading it without really intending to or realizing it. But it's just fun to read. Like I would think it'd be fun if like some alien came to Earth and just found this book. It's at every used bookstore. Just picked it up. Like that's a good book. Whoever made that up, he's got a great imagination. Charles Dickens, he's great at imagining things, creating cool sci-fi or whatever. And then you say, "Hey man, Mr. Alien, I mean it's kind of fiction, but that's actually happened in our history." And then he'd be like, "Whoa, man, you guys are nuts." And that's true. But this is a good book. Pick it up. I haven't read every Charles Dickens book. By the way, his writing style is incredible. It's like reading music. His sentences are so good. It's like dessert, man. The whole thing. How do people write like that? I don't know. I wish more people did. Like some people, a lot of books I read are just like maybe there's a page of good prose. People like Charles Dickens, the entire book is just incredible prose. There's not a sentence that's not enjoyable to read. So yeah, if you want to get into Charles Dickens, this is a good entry. It's short compared to most of his stuff. And you learn a lot about our history as well, and it's an entertaining read. So, Tale of Two Cities. What was that? Number 10? That was at number 8. All right. So number 7. This book blew me away, and it's not higher only because, well, I'll talk about it a little bit. So, An American Tragedy, Theodore Dreiser. Holy moly. This book, man. I was on a kick where I was trying to find I think it happened right after Tale of Two Cities. Because I realized there's a lot of great classical literature from like Europe, obviously. But I was on a kick where I'm trying to find what's the best American book written by an American author. And, Europe has the luxury of many centuries, whereas America, we have, a couple. So we don't have as much supply. But this one was always recommended in that search. And, oh, dude. Ooh, this book is incredible. Okay, so there's a lot that happens in it. So it's hard to sort of pinpoint the plot necessarily or describe what it is to you in a short amount of time. But I'll do my best here and I'll sort of describe what you can expect when reading this. So it's like a courtroom drama, part of it, the ending. So if you're into that kind of stuff, like law and like lawyers and stuff, and that's part of this book. So that's really, really good. But it's not a lot of it. That's just mostly the end. Because really, from the beginning to the end, it's about the main character. And oh gosh, what's his name? Clyde. That's right. Main character Clyde. It's the American story, but it's written as a tragedy, which is important for us to read because we're all fed the Disney American story, which, don't get me wrong, I love it, and I'm an optimist. It's probably my worst characteristic. I'm an over optimistic person. So the Disney version of the American story is great. Work hard, and you're gonna go far, and you're gonna find true love. Amazing. Those are great things. Oftentimes in the real world, it doesn't work out like that, and that's what this book shows. So Clyde, he comes from humble beginnings, very humble beginnings. Oh, and this is set in like 20th century, early 20th century America. Okay, so it's not like the 80s; it's before that. So before World War II and everything. So humble beginnings, but he has the American itch. He wants to rise, climb the ladder, fulfill his purpose. He feels he has a lot of potential to become great, and he wants to rise the ladder, get to the top, become rich, show everyone that he's better than what his humble beginnings are made him out to be. And, the American story. Great. That's what you can do in America. Fantastic. That's why we're awesome. Uh, but Clyde, he makes some bad decisions. And, there's some bad luck that does happen to him, but he does not he does some wrong things, and the consequences of those are big. So this book, there's very few books that really make me feel like, most books are just kind of like, hey, that was great. It's kind of like watching a movie. Awesome. This book and a few others on this list, man, I was like hurting, like in pain because of what was happening, and just, oh man, but it's great. So I don't want to spoil too much. But yeah, you just read it. So he, I can't talk much more without spoiling it. But if you're interested in the story arc of the humble hero working hard, who feels he has greatness within him, and that's what he wants, and he goes on an adventure to achieve this greatness, and that I mean, but set in America. A lot of fantasy story arcs are like that. The hero from the farm or whatever who finds the sword and he realizes he's the super knight of the world, and he's got to kill the big bad guy, and so he goes on this big quest and a lot of character development. Okay, that's kind of like this, but in 20th century, early 20th century America. So, but there's a lot of emotions, and bad decisions and real world consequences for those bad decisions. And it's so good. This is such a good book. It's so good. The only downside of it, and the reason why it's not higher than it is for me, it's like the first 200. It's a chunky book. Okay, it's, yeah, 800 pages. Uh, the first 200 were kind of boring. I'll be honest, kind of boring. They're more about his younger years, so yeah, kind of boring. He, what I can say is some of the bad decisions that Clyde makes stem from his desire to be great. He becomes manipulative. He kind of starts to become narcissistic. That causes him to hurt others, mostly emotionally, some physically. Hurt others because he manipulates them in order to climb the ladder. And it's so sad when that happens because you like Clyde, but then you also really like the characters that he ends up hurting, and it's mm. Books like this are so important because we can learn how to be better people by fictional examples. Fictional examples are good. Real life, we don't want these things happening in the real world. Read this book. It's going to impact your life. It's phenomenal. All right, that was 7. Number 6 was on that same list. I was trying to find the best American books. And I think my wife thought I was crazy when I brought this book home from Half Price Books. She's like, "What the heck? Like, why are you reading this book? This is like a girl book." And I totally thought the same. But every reviewer said this is a phenomenal book. It's for everyone. It's kind of marketed and packaged incorrectly. Gone with the Wind, number 6. And you can see, like, okay, a 30-year-old dude, I think I was 30 at the time, 30-year-old dude normally doesn't read books like this, all right? This is like, yeah. Like, mostly you see, like, old ladies at the pool reading books like this. Not me. Which is sad that it was marketed this way. Every human being should read this book. Especially every American should read this book. I think it should be required for every American. But holy moly, incredible. This book, well, okay, for those of you, a lot of people know, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it. You've probably seen the movie, which actually I haven't seen the movie because it's like 100 hours long. And I really want to watch the movie, especially after reading the book. I've heard it's great. So a lot of people know about this from the movie probably, so I'm not going to spend a ton of time on it. But I learned so much about this, about America in the South. This takes place in the South, American South, during slavery, the Civil War. So, and then afterwards. So, like, I learned it's amazing, man. Man, one of the cool things about fiction, and when you just read for the fun of it, you learn so much, so much more. I think. Okay, that's a broad, bold statement. I'm gonna say it though. You learn so much more than what is oftentimes fed to you at school. It's called self-education. That was not my intent with any of this, but it happened, and so it's an observation. So I hope people go out and just keep reading, man. It's so good for you. This is real history, you know, and it's the fallout of the American South after the Civil War. So it hurts to read as an American, right? Because it talks about slavery and it shows the two sides. The main characters are on the South, the plantation side in Georgia, so they're fighting for the South and to uphold slavery. That's wrong. We know that's wrong. What's interesting about this book, though, is you see a lot of it from that point of view, from their point of view of the South. And you get sort of, and it's, you kind of can empathize with what's happening with them because the author portrays it really well from their perspective. The point of this book is not saying slavery is right. That's not the point of this book at all. But what you can see is how, if you try to put yourself in the shoes of those people in the South during the Civil War, and you can see how their whole world crumbles. It's taken away from them, and and then how they adapt and move forward from there. It's it's good it happened because, yeah, I'm glad the North won. All right, I'm gonna quote me on that. But yeah, you can sort of see how, like, when I was reading this, I was thinking, yeah, what if just some country came, or my brain often goes to aliens. What if aliens came, invaded Earth, destroyed all our cities, changed our way of life completely, all of our statuses, our jobs, our education meaningless, our way of life gone, and we just have to adapt. We have to move forward. How is that going to affect my life? How would I deal with that? And that's what happens to Scarlett. Her whole life, her family's life ruined because the North, or the Civil War, the North says you can't do this anymore. We're all going to be one country. This cannot continue. Some of the things you do, and their plantations, which they've had in families for generations, obliterated in the battles, and they're just, they had high status in their cities and their communities, and then now, boom, they're nothing. They're worthless. They're just peasants. And then, man, I totally lost my train of thought. And oh yeah, so people in their family are dead. They're killed in the war. So now they have no family. So a lot of them have to make decisions like, okay, I'm going to marry this person who's on the north side, so then now I can just have a life again. I don't have to live on the streets. So that was the part of the book that really captured me, and I think it's so important for Americans to read this book. In addition to that, it's just great writing. Incredible writing. Not a page is boring. I mean, there is some love stuff, like romantic entanglements, love triangles, tragedy that you can't love this person, So that's there too, and that's very interesting. But I think the historical aspect of it and seeing the perspectives, and it's, there's some perspectives from the North too, so you feel for them as well. They have sons that die in the war. But this is such, like, maybe the best textbook of the Civil War right here. So if you want to learn about Civil War, sounds crazy, read Gone with the Wind. People probably don't think of that, but I recommend this to anyone who is interested and wants to learn more about Civil War. Gone with the Wind, an incredible book. What was that? 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. That was 6. Okay, 5. Number 5. I'm going too long in this video. That's all right. Number 5. So I'm counting it. I've only read part 1. There's 2 books in this, but I've only read part 1. Don Quixote, Cervantes. Oh my gosh, you can't say much more about this book, or much at all, without people knowing how awesome it is already. I mean, every list this is on the top, and for good reason. I've never read a book quite like this, and I know 100,000 billion percent, just from having read this book, I've become a better writer than I was prior to reading this book. Cervantes, man, I don't know how you write so good, to be honest. Every single word is perfect. Every sentence is perfect. It's so entertaining. It's funny. The interesting thing about this book is it's actually really funny. But it's also a cool story. It's one of those you can't really describe. You just have to read it for yourself. But my vocabulary increased, my writing style increased. So, I mean, that's the big reason why it was so good for me. Plus, this is also like dessert. Every sentence is butter. It's just dessert. Hilarious, but also like emotional. I mean, so what it is, it's this old, I guess, senile knight. He thinks he's a knight. He's not really a knight, but he's sort of old and senile, and he's hanging on to the old ways of the world, right? We had chivalry, you had knights, but the world is moving away from that, but he's still retaining onto it. So he's sort of like this delusional, crazy guy. But he's the main character, and it's hilarious. And then so he goes on a quest, and he has his buddy Sancho Panza, and they're hilarious. Just their banter and their dialogue. Because Sancho Panza, he's like, dude, he calls him out. He's like, you're crazy, and then Don Quixote's like, no, but he still thinks he's like this fictional. He's a knight. Of course, the famous scene where he's fighting giants, but it's in real life. He's fighting a windmill, like so it's just funny. But the way that the author can write this is what makes it so good, I think. Because not everyone could write a story with that plot and make it good. I think most would fail miserably, including myself. But just the way Cervantes writes this book, the words, the chapters, it's so funny, but so good. And that's why it's one of those, I'm not going to spend a lot of time explaining it, because really you have to read it to appreciate it. The reason it's on this list for me, and the reason is mostly because of how it impacted my life from a writing standpoint. I didn't know books could be like this, honestly. This was such a game changer. I would read, again, mostly sci-fi and fantasy, and that's sort of formulaic in their structure. They all sort of read the same, very similar. Some are better than others, obviously. And then I picked up this book. 1, because I heard it was funny. 2, I heard it's one of the best books of all time. Always widely considered that. And 3, I thought it was kind of a fantasy book. So I thought it would be a great entry point into like classic literature. Because it features a knight and he goes on a quest. So I'm like, okay, I'll be able to get into classic literature through this book. It's not really a fantasy book. It kind of is, because he does go on a quest. But it had enough of those elements where it kept me entertained. And then shortly I realized this is why classic literature exists. There are books out there that every single word are perfection, and that's this. Most fantasy books are not that. It's like you have a 20-page chapter, a couple sentences are like, oh, that's really interesting, and the rest is just kind of like, hey, and they walk through the forest, whatever. So I thought that's what books were, okay? This book taught me books can be so much more. They can teach you things, they can make you discover things about yourself through the characters, and they can teach you how to use words to impact people and to teach them without them wanting or knowing they're being taught. And I love how just reading this made me a better writer through osmosis. I'm not claiming to be as good as Cervantes, okay? I'm not doing that. But it's an incredible book. I think everyone needs to read it too. So that was 5, right? 4. Yeah. I'm not a mathematician, as you can see. Number 4, another classic book, Dostoevsky's Crime and Punishment. Oh my goodness. All these books are incredible, by the way, so I'm just gushing at all of them. So I hope you're all right with that. And if you're not, I don't care. Crime and Punishment is I have never been in so much pain. Like, I'm not talking about like mental anguish. I mean, there is that, but actual physical pain as when reading this book. And then it sounds like a bad thing when I hear me say that out loud. It's a good thing. Like, I wasn't like laying on the floor, whatever. You know what I mean? I was so invested in the characters and then what was happening, and it was so excruciating to see how the main character developed and when he did what he did and all the pain that happens afterwards because of it. This book is straight up magic. I don't know how you can, through words, have someone actually change their physical and emotional state so much. But that's what this book does to you. If that's interesting to you, read this book. I mean, it's got the classic great prose, okay? We're just assuming that with all these books pretty much because they're top 10 of all time for me. Great prose, great writing style. This one takes it to another level as far as depth of emotional connection with the main character. This book asks or makes the reader ask a lot of questions, that people usually sort of think about. And this book plays out those thought experiments from beginning to end. So you don't have to play them out in real life, okay? I wish more people would read this book so that they would know if you do things that are very bad, this is the consequence. And this is how it's going to affect your life. This book describes it to a T, and it's so painful to read. But then you get to put the book down and you go, hey, now I'm not going to do that. Most people wouldn't anyway. But it's like, I don't want to experience what this character went through. I want to do good things in the world. I don't want this to happen to anyone involved. And so that's why people need to read books, man. So if you don't know what the book's about, the main character, he's kind of, he's super smart. He's a very intelligent guy. Like, too smart for his own good, honestly. And for some reason, he feels like he has to break the law and get away with it in order to reach a total enlightened or elevated state in society. Because in society, if you're above the law, then you've made it, right? There's some people in his mind that are just so good for whatever reason, so important they're above the law. So he wants to test his intelligence and test that he can outwit the law, right? And prove that he's one of in that class of elite people in that way. What he chooses is murder, and it's not good. And then so the fallout, how it affects his life, how much stress and paranoia always that follows him because he doesn't want to get caught. All the paranoia that follows, and just it doesn't make him better. I mean, obviously it's sad for the person he kills and their family, but this book, in most murder books, it focuses on the family and the person that was murdered and how that affects their life. This book centers on the killer and how it affects his life. So, and again, I'm not saying, and the author is not trying to say we should empathize with murderers. That's not the point of this book. We should not feel bad for them. Nope, not the point of this book. This book demonstrates what happens to you if you're a murderer and why it's not a good thing to be a murderer. And this is so crucial for today's day and age. There's so much murder in our society. It's terrible. So, real life example, not too long ago, the guy who in real life killed the CEO of United Health Group, murdered him in cold blood. That was eerily similar to this book. Like the main character, from what I've seen and read about the person in real life that killed the CEO of United Health Group, he sounded very similar to the main character in this book. And if he would have read this book, maybe he did, I don't know. He would have known he should not murder people because it doesn't end well for anyone, including himself. And man, anyway, this book is incredible. It's not super long. Dostoevsky's a great writer. The confusing thing about his books, though, and this is just a Russian part of the Russian language, is the naming. So people have a lot of nicknames based on their, like, if it's, I don't even know. I'm not going to claim to know, but they have a lot of different names, kind of like Joe, Joseph, Joey. And they get used throughout this book. So you got to kind of, oh yeah, that's talking about that person. And that's just kind of different for English. So that was the only confusing thing, but incredible book. Dostoevsky overall is an incredible author, but yeah, read this book. It might be a painful experience, but it's super beneficial. Am I number 3 now? Number 3. Oh, this is oh man. This is the greatest American novel. I found the greatest American novel of all time. And I'm not taking credit for finding it. There's a lot of people online and a lot of reviews will say this is the greatest American novel ever. And I'm not kidding you. I was a doubter, but then I read this book and it is, hands down. And it's honestly one of those, I can't even necessarily explain why. You just have to read it. But the greatest American novel of all time. Number 3 on my list of greatest books of all time. Lonesome Dove. Larry McMurtry. Sorry. Holy moly. This book is like, I would never have picked this book up if people didn't recommend it, or if I wasn't trying to find the greatest American novel. A lot of people on YouTube that I trust that like a lot of the same books that I like recommend this book. And a lot of those people mostly read sci-fi and fantasy, and they still recommend this book as top 5 book of their lists as well. This is a Western. I don't read Westerns. Nope, not interested in Westerns. It's about like a cattle drive from Texas to Montana. I don't care about cattle drives. I live in Minneapolis suburbs. All right, I don't do outside stuff. Like, I mean, I do. Okay, I go whatever, but I'm not a rancher. All right. Why would I ever read this book? And so a lot of people, when they see this on the shelf of their used bookstore, are probably thinking that same thing. Why would I ever read this book? I'll tell you why you should read this book. It don't matter. If you are a human being, this book is for you. If you're an American, this book is doubly for you. This book has the greatest characters and character work of any book in the history of mankind. That's a bold statement too, at least that I've ever read. And I think that's mostly why this book is so well loved and so highly regarded, is the characters and the character work. You feel for these characters. You can't help it. They become a part of your life. They are your friends. They are your family. You are there with them. And just like, if something bad happens to one of your friends or someone in your family, you feel for them. Their pain is your pain. Their joy is your joy. That's what happens in this book. How does it happen? I have no freaking idea. I don't. And that's probably why that speaks to how great it is. It's not hitting you over the head. It's not saying you need to love these characters. You just do. I cannot explain how Larry McMurtry gets you to fall in love with these characters so much, but he does. and it's a beautiful thing. It's, I mean, that's really all you could say. The plot is good. I mean, even if you don't like westerns, everyone kind of likes westerns. It's just in a different setting, right? It's a big adventure. It's an adventure story. So everyone loves adventure stories. This just happens to take place in the West, the old American West. You know, there's cowboys, there's Indians, there's battles, there's tragedy, there's joy, there's friendships, there's everything, man. And it's America. It's but the good kind of America where you have good values. Well, okay, there's some bad values in this book. Maybe that's not the right thing to describe this book with. But there's hardworking people and good people, and they come together and they survive mostly a very arduous quest. And the whole point of the quest is to find greater lands so they can make a better life for themselves. They're kind of trapped down in Texas in a slummy town, but they hear there's wide open lands for the taking up in Montana. And so they want a better life for themselves and their future generations, so they take on this quest and they go, and holy moly too. Like, these people were like real men, dude. Like, sometimes I get nervous, not nervous, but just like I complain when I have to like go outside in the winter and drive to Taco Bell, right? Because it's cold. These people, yeah, they would laugh at that. The stuff they go through on this cattle drive is is grueling, and they come out okay. Yeah, read this book. You will fall in love with the characters. I still think about them sometimes. There are other books in this series, I guess, but I haven't read them, and I probably won't. This is the one you need to read. It's amazing. I was so sad when this book was over, honestly. I was so sad. And it's a long book. I wanted it to never end. So number 3, Lonesome Dove. Number 2, this book, well, it's actually 3 books in one. Might have had the biggest impact in my life as far as fiction books. I still remember. It was just I found it at the right time, and I didn't find it from any YouTube people, any recommendations. It was just strange, but very important time in my life. I was fresh out of college. I didn't have a career yet. I was still just kind of working, not full time, but like retail jobs at a coffee shop actually, which was cool. And so I was still trying to find my footing, find my way, and it was just a period in my life where everything was in flux, uncertain, but a lot of energy and angst, and that's a fun time in your life. If you're in that period, just enjoy it. So I went to the library because you don't have much money in those days, and I still go to the library actually, but regardless, I found this book, and it was in the sci-fi section. I still remember it. It's actually still at that library. I want to buy it from the library, that exact book, because that book holds a super important place in my heart. So what is it? Okay, Foundation trilogy by Isaac Asimov. This is a cool version I bought from Barnes & Noble. This isn't the one that I read back in that time, but it's a cool version. That version was just this black, I think it was the People's Library, where it has Isaac Asimov's like face on the front. So very not interesting. I read the back and was like, hey, this is a space opera that spans many decades. That's pretty much it. I'm like, all right, I'm late to work. I'm going to pick it up. Oh my goodness. This book, it honestly, it changed my life. It affected me so much. I could not put it down. I read it just so fast. And the other cool thing is I still remember I listened while I read it, I was listening to an album, which I like to listen to music when I read. The album was Police's debut album. If you know, they're not a super mainstream band. They're local in Minneapolis, but it's a very electronic sound, very electronic band. And so whenever I read this book, I have that as a soundtrack. And it still just brings me right back. It's so awesome. But this book is another one too where it makes you more intelligent without you trying to. And the reason I loved it so much is because it does what no other book has done, at least successfully. It writes a huge timeline, or huge. There's so many years that happen or that pass in this book. You know, most stories take place within like a short amount of time. This spans generations, and it's based on this prediction that this really smart guy, I'm not going to spoil too much, really smart guy predicts how the world is going to happen, what's going to happen throughout the generations. And it's, and there's planets and stuff. And so it's just on this cosmic scale. And all these dominoes fall just as he predicts. Kind of. kind of. So you get to see, you jump forward and you see how civilization changes and updates and falls and rises. It's such a good commentary if you want to understand humanity and society and civilizations and how society all works together for things. This is like kind of like the zoom out of that, so you can understand. It's like seeing the creator put the puzzle pieces together, and then you can sort of see the dominoes fall. It's so cool. It's so smartly written, and Asimov is such a good writer. I don't know how he could. It's just a masterpiece. How he could write this to follow all these centuries, and it's that's all. I don't know. I'm at a loss for words, to be honest. But this experience of reading this book is unlike any other. The other thing that I love so much about this book is probably one of the greatest villains of all time in any book, movie, anything happens in this story. His name is the Mule. And he's such a cool character. Just what he symbolizes, what he represents. He is the foil to what all the best laid plans of mankind, right? He's the foil to that. He's the outlier. And he comes in and messes stuff up. And it's so smartly written, and it's so good. It's sci-fi, it's a space opera. You know, the thing about this book, too, I don't want to set your expectations like it's going to be like Star Wars, because it's not very action-y. There's not a lot of, battles, gunfighting. There's space battles and all that stuff does happen, but it's sort of in the background. It's mentioned, but it's not explained. So don't go into this thinking it's going to be this swashbuckling space adventure. It's not. It's a lot of dialogue, and but it's so smart. It's the best. So, well, it's not the best. It's number 2. But it maybe is the most impactful book in many ways. So it's not number 1 because it won't impact everyone the same way it impacted me. Because I found this just at the right time in my life. So, but I do think it's on its own, on its merits, it's a fantastic book, and everyone should read it, especially if you're sci-fi fans. Okay. This video has gone super long. If you're still with me, thank you. Number 1, hands down, the greatest book of all time. It is a sci-fi. Greatest book of all time. In so many ways, the story, the writing style, the imagery, the intelligence, incredible. That book is Dune, Frank Herbert. Oh man, I've read this book more than any other. I've read this over and over and over, and I still can't get enough of it. It's so smart. It is, I think, of all science fiction books that predict or that showcase mankind way off in the future, when space is colonized and all this stuff, I think the one that predicts it the most realistically, where it actually could happen this way, is Dune. And that's why I think this book is so good and why so many people love it. When you think of the classic stuff, course, Star Wars always comes to mind, but a lot of just popular sci-fi. It's fun to think about, but it's obviously very clearly not going to happen in our future. The mankind is not going to end up like it ends up in Star Wars. It's not. It's just not. There's so many reasons why. Dune, mankind totally could end up like this. So possible that it could end up like this. So it's almost like prophecy. So we need to watch out. This book is telling us, watch out. I mean, and also just the story is great. Like, there's a lot of twists and turns, a lot of cool battles. But this touches on religion, it touches on how religion impacts societies, civilizations, the importance of religion and the dangers of religion if used incorrectly. It talks about kings, economics, like the economics in this world are spot on in the way that economics really pulls the levers of the world's events and always has. It's so good. It's incredible, this book, man. The really other fun thing about it is there's some mystery to it. There's the unexplainable, sort of the divine, which is in our world too, which is another reason why it's so important and so good to read. But what's fun about it, and it's mentioned in this book, it's touched on in other books in the series, is there's a war that takes place before this book starts, way in the past of this series, and it's the Butlerian Jihad. It's the machine war, so it's the war against machines. So before the series even happens, we have a war which we in the here and now are maybe close to, probably not, but could it happen? Yes. So machines become so intelligent, artificial intelligence gets to such a level where there's a big war, mankind actually ends up winning, but machines become banned, or thinking machines become banned. Machines are only okay or allowed for utility. No thinking machines. So then people become smart again. There's a race of people that are super smart. They're almost computers in themselves, but so they don't use thinking machines anymore in this world. And that's a total realistic thing that I could see happening way after I'm dead. But in the projection of our world, this could happen. So that's just fun too. That's not even in the story. That's like background stuff. And then think about the story itself. It's just so much of that. It's so good, man. And there's other stories in this series. I recommend continuing. The rest of the books are great. They do get a little weird, not gonna lie. Like, there's a book called The God Emperor of Dune. That one is the best one in the series, besides this, of the extended series, I should say. It's kind of weird though. If you're only gonna read one, read this. This is the only one you only need to read. But Frank Herbert, technically this could be the best American novel, but I think I was going for classic American novels. Anyway, this book is amazing for everyone to read. And the movies, the Denis Villeneuve movies, the new ones are very, very good too. And the spinoff show is very good too. Oh, I should mention the Foundation TV show on Apple Plus is incredible. It deviates from the story, but that's fine because it does a fantastic job. So yeah, Dune, best book of all time. I don't think it'll ever be beat. I don't think it can ever be beat. This book is just, it's a gift to man. It really is. I think God was like, all right, I'm gonna help, or I'm gonna allow this gift to happen, and thank you, because Frank Herbert, you made this book, and it's incredible. It's the other thing too, man. I know I'm going way too long. That's fine. This book tells us to be cautious about government. All right. And now all of you are clicking off. I get it. I'm not a conspiracy guy, I promise. But blind trust in the powers of the world, the leaders, political leaders, is bad and dangerous. This book teaches us that. And that's one of the main points is think for yourself. Stop just believing blindly what is fed to you. Think for yourself, read for yourself. That's a main theme of this book, and I hope mankind does that, continues to think and read for themselves. There are things that can help guide your thinking, and there are great things to do that. But still, make sure you think for yourself and do your own education too. Supplement whatever education you have, and read Dune. Dune is the best book of all time. If I ever do this list again, which probably I will, this book will always be number one, man. Always. All right, that's what I got. This movie is super long, or this video is super long. Thanks for sticking with me. I hope you all have a great day.